Good afternoon and welcome to listening live to Heart to Heart, a program which aims to help you understand and to become your loving self at KMET 1490 AM ABC Radio Live. And let's see, yes, Thursday, October
All day.
13th, October 14th. Okay, all day, exactly. So I'm Dr. Mitra Rashidian. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist and a certified sexologist, heavily involved in research about human sexuality and, of course, relationship. And I'm offering this program to you today, along with my awesome friend, colleague, mentor, and business partner for many, many years, Dr. Robert Jaffe, who's also a psychotherapist and a certified hypnotherapist. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Welcome, everyone. We hope that you will enjoy our show and we hope that you will learn and grow from listening to us. We would love to hear from you. You can call us anytime during the next hour. Our number is 951 922 3532. 951 922 3532. When you call in, feel free to use your real name, make up a name, or just say no name.
No name.
And anything that you want to share with us about what we're talking about, or really any other topic, Dr. Rashidian and I will be happy to give you our best answer. And if we don't know what that is, we will give you some places to look to get the answer. So anything that you wish to share with us would be well appreciated, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Exactly. And also, if you know of your friends, colleagues, family member, anybody that you believe they can benefit from this program, please feel free to introduce us to them and invite them to join you and listen to our program, right?
Absolutely.
Because this program belongs to you. All of these informations, they belong to you, and we would like to hear from you, your story. These are all important to us and they help us grow and also to offer you a better program. So with all that said, uh, you know, so in addition to trauma, addictions, codependency, one of the main topics that we introduce in this program is about human sexuality. And the topic of sex never gets old.
The topic of sex never gets old, and neither does the having of sex.
Not and not having it's a six, no, they don't look like the same, right? So every time it's a new experience, right?
It's new, and it's so much fun if we can allow ourselves to have fun.
Exactly. And that's the key,
That's the key.
that's the key, to allow ourselves to have fun. Right?
Correct.
That means to be free from all the do's and don'ts, to be free from all the limits that we put on ourselves in terms of, okay, how sex should be, and that the vocabulary of should by itself is problematic, right? And what exactly having sex means, and is it limited to a certain age, or so many myths that it's around having sex. And I came across an article that's written by my good colleague Gloria Brame, Dr. Gloria Brame. She's a sex therapist, and actually, her article was posted by my wonderful colleague and friend, Dr. Eva Kettel. So when I see an article that's been introduced by Dr. Eva Kettel, I know there is something juicy about it. So without a doubt, and she's a sex therapist too. So I do follow, what she does, and we follow each other. So I said, okay, well, let's see. The topic of the article is 6 things every adult should know about sex.
Yeah, that's good.
That's good, right?
That's good.
Yes.
We all want more information. We want valid information.
Right.
And as you said before, we love the topic. So anything we talk about which has to do with our sexuality is very interesting and enticing.
Exactly. So, the article talks about the facts, the fiction, the fantasies, the myths, and how to sort them out or not, and how we have misinformation or misconceptions about sex. And basically, but one thing that, you know, and I agree with both of these colleagues, that one thing that is not primarily focused, not that from scientific point of view we don't know that, of course we do, but what is not primarily focused is the understanding that the biology of sex and the role orgasm plays in human health.
The role that orgasm plays in human health, absolutely.
Right.
And orgasm is a very extraordinary experience, and it's a very valuable experience in terms of our psychological and physical health.
Exactly. Right. And now there are so many information out there that says that, each sex episode doesn't need to end, with orgasm.
That's correct.
Right.
That's correct.
And that's not what we're talking about, by the way, right? We're not saying that if you don't have orgasm, forget about orgasm. Orgasm is a part of having sex, right? But then again, there are many other ways that people can experience orgasm. And some of these ways are being kind of prohibited, like, masturbation. Right?
Well, yeah, there are many places in the world and certain religions which preach against masturbation. So I think that's what you're focusing on right now.
Well, yeah, exactly.
From a physiological and psychological perspective, however, those are erroneous, because masturbation is a very it's a very positive way of expressing your sexuality and pleasuring yourself and getting the benefits of having a sexual experience without having to rely on another person being in the mood or being there. So and I discovered that at a very early age. I started reading Freud around age 12, and discovered that not only was not a bad thing. It not only was not a bad thing, but it actually was a very healthy thing.
Exactly. And, we know that from a clinical perspective, we know per science, we know per, report of our clients, majority of people learn about their sexuality, especially at a very young age, like 11, 10 even, 9 and up, through touching themselves, their genital, and actually doing masturbation. And this is how they initially learn about, that they are sexual being, and, they have the reaction that they feel is their is the orgasm that they experience as a result of masturbating. And of course, because there is no prior education to that, there is no talk about sex and sexuality with young children. Usually it goes in the hiding, or masturbation is done in their own privacy, in their own private time, when nobody's around. But eventually, word gets out, right? Eventually the children talk to each other, and they realize that, more or less most of them masturbate. But then again, religions and other social factors, they have put, limitations on that, and they have made it a sinful act, and they have come up with concept that in order to stop masturbation, right?
Yes.
For example, according to this article, it says that some of the myths is that people who masturbate, especially men, they may go blind, right? Or they may get warts on their body, right? And also it may hurt, their athletic performance. It makes them unfit for marriage, or may turn them into a sex addict, right?
Mhm.
And then it also says that the old anti-masturbation myths have been replaced by new ones, but they all stem from the same place, shame, right?
Yeah, yeah. As though there's something wrong with pleasuring yourself.
Right.
And of course, the old joke about, if you masturbate, you might go blind, and then the child looks up and says, "Okay, well, can I do it until at least I need glasses?"
You know, well, I don't know about that, but I have heard this that when kids bully each other, those that they wear glasses, they are being told that,
Oh,
why don't you go and, they take care of yourself, or I'm not going to say the term, on the air, but they have these, kind of demeaning terms that they tell each other. That's why you're wearing glasses at such a young age.
yeah.
You know.
The one of the terms, of course, everybody has heard this from men is jacking off, right?
Oh, well, I wasn't going to say that,
Well,
but you said
yeah,
it.
jacking off. But then I just heard one for women, and it's called jilling off.
Okay.
So Jack and Jill,
All
right?
right. Well, see, I didn't want to say any of that, but he did. So you didn't hear it from me. My apology for that. Okay. Okay. And then the reality is that uh, majority of people start having sex, their initial sexual experiences are through masturbation. Whether we like to hear that or not, whether we want to accept that or not,
Mm-hmm.
that's how it is,
Mhm.
right? Under normal circumstances, that's what's going on, right? So masturbation is the most common sex act people perform. And then the point is that it's not just the body that wants people to experience, orgasm. It's the brain that pushes the body to do that,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's where the body mind comes together. And the brain pushes us more than our genital to have orgasm. And then basically it is a fundamental building block of sexual development. And the people, the young people start doing that, and also the older people are doing that. So masturbation continues to be a part of sex act from the beginning, from the initial experience, all the way to when a person dies.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
And we don't have any record of anybody going blind or anybody become a sex addict because of that,
Or getting worse.
or getting worse, right?
Worse, right?
Yes, and I would like also to change the vocabulary of addiction, sex addict, to sex compulsivity. So now I want to make an acknowledgement about that, because now we know sexual compulsivity is a better fit with the behavior than what we used to say it's sex addict.
And why is that?
Then the science says that, and I need to work on that more so that I can accurately say it.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I know that a dear colleague of mine made a reference, actually, two of them, that from it's a new development that the word sex addiction is not changed to sex compulsivity.
Okay. Well, that may be true, but I also believe that all addiction has to do with compulsivity.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So then we would have to eliminate the word addiction, period, and we would have to say alcohol compulsivity, or drug compulsivity, or gambling compulsivity. To me, that's okay. We can change that word, but I still hold on to the addiction, because I think any behavior that you do for the purpose of changing your feeling state on a regular basis, to me, it fits with my definition of addiction. So you can have a television addiction.
Right.
That's the way that I look at it. But compulsivity is maybe a milder term, and maybe it's the more modern term. But I think of addiction as something that we do consistently to change our feeling state, to feel better, to relieve ourselves from negative feelings. And when we do that on a regular compulsive basis, it becomes something that becomes out of control.
Okay, well, let's talk more about this after our commercial break.
Sounds
the
good.
signal was given to us a while ago.
Okay.
So we see you shortly, in a few minutes.
See you shortly.
Welcome back from commercial break. This is Heart to Heart program at KMET 1490 AM ABC News Radio Live. For those of you who are just joining us, this week we're talking about 6 things that people need to know, adult people need to know about sex. And our phone number here is 951-922-3532. Please call us, join us, share your story. Tell us, what kind of myths did you hear about sexuality growing up? What were some of the do's and don'ts that you experienced, and how do those myths today are impacting your relationship, right? Was there something positive about it that you're still holding on to? Were there some negative parts of it that you're trying to get rid of, but you don't feel that you're able to do that because of whatever reason that made you hold on to those myths? Your stories are so valuable, so we want to know about them, because these stories help us to see the much wider perspective about human sexuality. And we know that not two experiences are the same, and each experience is unique and valuable to us. So please contact us, share with us, 951-922-3532. You also can visit us on our Facebook and also on KMET Facebook and live. So, Dr. Jaffe, we talked about masturbation as one of the problems that people think is a problem, right?
Yes.
Okay. The second one that the article refers to is that sex problems are usually psychological problems, which you and I have talked about this significantly.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Sexual dysfunction is often considered, mysterious, and especially when there is no medical reason to explain it. Often, that's because the psychology of sex and sexual emotions are usually, the source of it, right? Which is just what I just explained. Each story is different. Each story is unique.
Yeah. And so, what we say then is the largest sex organ is between our two ears.
Right.
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 It's our brain, and what we find stimulating, and what we find disgusting, or not good, bad, negative. Those impact our body's functioning. And so you were talking before, and you've done a lot of research on cultural do's and don'ts that people from other cultures and the United States carry with them that get in the way of their enjoyment of sex, and limit their ability to give and receive sexual pleasure, even to the point where we have what we call the sexual dysfunction, the difficulty with erections, the difficulty with lubrication, the difficulty with the vagina accepting the male penis. I mean, all sorts of things that are often not physiologically based, they're emotionally based.
Exactly. The article talks about, men usually worry that their libido is too high and punish themselves for looking at porn or, doing masturbation, right? Women usually worry that they can't please a partner or won't be able to have orgasm with them. Most sexual dysfunctions, from what the article refers to as minor to major, are because of negative self-image, traumas, and inner conflicts. Basically, sex itself is not that complicated, but emotions that they are attached to that are complicated.
Yes. Yeah. And yeah, and so that's what you're talking about as emotional difficulties.
Yeah.
That translate itself into sexual difficulties.
Exactly. For example, one of the most common sexual problem in men is premature ejaculation.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
That's one of the most common. And today we know that if there is no organic cause for that,
mm-hmm.
which is usually the organic causes happens maybe up to 5% of the times, not even more.
Well, I think actually with premature ejaculation, it's even less than that.
It's even less than that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we see that there are lots of psychological issues going on that they are not explored. They are not being, brought to the attention. And one of the major ones for premature ejaculation is the subconscious conflict that boys develop with their mother.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Right.
And, per my own research and other colleagues who have done research about that, we see that premature ejaculation is significant part of the presenting problems among men in Asian countries, in Middle Eastern countries, right? And some part of Europe, right? And those are the areas that, the relationship between mom and child, mom and boys are so significantly close. Where there are the concept of son preference exists there, right? So the more the concept of son preference exists, the more we see premature ejaculation.
And can you say a little about how that works?
Well, how that works, the boys feel controlled by their mother. The boy feels like they have to please their mothers all the time. Or they have to be, maintaining a set of standards of life, right? Certain level of probably perfectionism, right? And that becomes over time, becomes so unbearable, becomes so heavy, becomes so exhausting, right? That in a set of love, maintaining the love between the child and the mom, it turns itself into a subconscious hate, right? Because the child is not able to experience, the free life that he wants to have.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a possibility that the boy develops, anger. Hate is like extreme anger, right?
Yes, rage.
But, rage.
Yeah, right.
So that they can sort of whoever the mate is of the boy, now the man, whoever the female mate is, takes over the role of the mother.
Exactly.
Psychologically. Of course, the man isn't thinking this is my mother, but subconsciously it becomes that my mother is controlling me, and I don't want to give her pleasure, so I'm not going to last inside of her. And I think that's one possibility that happens. Another one, I think, is that there's a lot of anxiety that occurs for the man about his ability to please, and so the anxiety sort of takes over his penis.
Right.
And his penis is like, I'm really anxious about whether I can please her, and if I don't, then I'm a failure. And so there's a lot of pressure on the man to stay erect and to stay consistent, and that pressure causes him to actually succumb to his fear. Yeah.
Exactly, and usually we see this aspect of it among adult men who used to do whatever it takes to please their mother. So that pleasing concept of a female becomes like a chore, becomes like a task subconsciously.
Right.
Right? It is as though the man is only, if a male, genital, it's just a device for pleasing rather than a source of enjoyment for himself as well.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Right.
And everything needs to be done at a perfect level. Otherwise, he's a failure in that part.
Yeah,
Right.
so it can be anxiety that he's not going to please her, or pressure that he has to please her. Those two forces can both exist actually at the same time, or can be mutually exclusive, and it becomes very, very difficult for the man to really be relaxed and let his penis function the way it's meant to function.
Exactly. And then outside sex, with the relationship between in this kind of a relationship, the relationship itself also is not a loving one. Usually, it's there are constant, argument, constant, they are rageful contacts between the couple.
Mm-hmm.
There is a hierarchy going on there usually. So there are subconscious actions and reactions that a male partner feels needs to maintain in order to get the get the feeling of some mastery there, somewhere that he can be in charge rather than being controlled.
Right. And that's on the male side.
On the male side, yes.
Yeah. And then, of course, the female brings into it her own unresolved conflicts and feelings, being raised in her particular environment and society. And so then she may have difficulty, for example, allowing herself to get excited through sex because of messages that she was given that if you get excited, then you're a slut, or that you're easy, or messages like that. And so and it's very difficult, I think, a lot of times when women are raised to be virgins at the marriage, and they're supposed to not engage in sex and not have any sexual pleasure prior to marriage, and then all of a sudden all the rules are the opposite.
Yes.
And it's like the woman is supposed to automatically feel sexual when she's so practiced at turning off her sexuality.
Exactly. And that's at the onset of marriage, we see lots of that conflict happening, that the new bride is is labeled as a cold fish, or so many other labels that they are given, and sex becomes a traumatic experience rather than a joyful part of their relationship.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. And of course, if it's difficult on the wedding night, that can set the stage for a lot of misery after the wedding night.
Yeah.
Especially if both partners walk away feeling angry and disappointed.
Yes. Did we look for this all this time? Is that what we were looking for?
Yeah.
I have heard so many stories about having sex for the first time from female, interviewees that I have worked with during the past 20-25 years, that their first experience, whether it was before marriage or it was prior marriage, in their non-marriage relationship, that they were so much of a disappointment because of what they believe sex and sexuality needed to be, or what they fantasize about it.
Right.
The point is that what they fantasize, what they expected, or what they were programmed to feel like, none of it was the actual experience that they had.
Right.
And it was more confusion for them, and more disappointment, and more, obviously, more of a lack of enjoyment during their marriage.
Yeah, a lot of unhappiness.
Unhappiness,
Yeah,
yes, that's the word I was looking for. Yeah. So sex itself, like we said, is not the complication, but emotions are the ones that cause the problems, the unresolved emotions, the myths, the beliefs, and the prior programming, and the anxiety, the fear, the sinfulness, the shame, the guilt that's attached to it.
Correct.
Those are the main issues.
Correct. And there's an expression that we use in psychotherapy, that the cells of our body eavesdrop on the thoughts in our mind.
Mm-hmm.
And we
gut
use
feelings.
Gut feeling.
Feelings.
Yeah, gut feeling, stomach feeling, headache feeling, feelings that are that are created by the way we're thinking about what this means to us. Human beings are meaning-making creatures.
Right.
We make meanings out of things, and if the meanings that we're making are meanings that are contrary to what our body wants, it's going to interfere with our body's ability to function in the way that it was designed to function.
Exactly. Yes. Right. So number three says you're never too old for sex. And boy, if I wanted to talk about this, I can talk about this for hours. God knows how many couples I have met across the years that they believed after having a child, or after age 40, they're done with their sex life.
Age 40.
Age 40. I have a couple just now that they just had their first child, and they believe that once the child is born, there goes their sex life. They won't be able to have sex anymore, and they don't want to have sex anymore. And I was, I have to say that I get surprised still every time I hear that.
Mm-hmm.
That why people think that
shocking.
It is pretty shocking,
It's shocking to me that one partner feels that way, but to hear that both partners would feel that way is even more shocking.
So let me say how the sequence happens, you know. And I think this is very important to bring up, and we just got our notice of commercial break. So stay tuned. I'd like to talk about this right after our commercial break.
Absolutely. Please stay with us, and please call us. Our number again is 951-922-3532. Please give us a call, and we'll see you in a moment.
Welcome back to more commercial. Dr. Mitra and Dr. Robert here at heartofheart.com at KM 490 ABC News Radio Live. We are talking about, myths about sex. And so far we talked about how masturbation is a healthy act, and how sex itself is not a problem, it's not a complicated situation, but what's inside our ears is basically our emotions, our beliefs and perceptions about how we think, and we have learned about what sex and sexuality is.
Mm-hmm.
And before commercial, we talked about you're never too old for sex. And this is so true. And I was going to say that when I see my young couples that they're having, their first child or second child, and one of the fear that becomes a presenting problem comes from the male partner.
Mm-hmm.
They say, well, I'm done with sex. I have a kid now, or I have 2 kids now. I don't know. I mean, I just have to focus on work, or my wife is always busy. She's always tired. She has lost interest in sex, and then so that's an aspect of it. The second aspect is that for some reason, some men believe that when a woman gives, vaginal birth to their child, somehow the vagina is no longer the same. Mm-hmm. It doesn't feel the same to them, mm-hmm. right? So, and then they lose interest in having sex with their female partner.
Well, you're talking about the elasticity of the vagina.
Right.
And there is some truth in that in certain cases, that the elasticity is, it is not, vagina isn't as tight around the penis. Mm-hmm. However, there can be solutions to that, different positions that the couples can engage in, and also it doesn't all sex doesn't have to be penis and vagina sex. I mean,
Right.
that's certainly the major part of the sexual experience, but there's a lot of sexuality involved in being together without that.
Exactly. But then, even if that's the case, a simple surgical procedure can take care of that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, that's again, like we say, that's not the real issue. The issue is how we perceive sex and sexuality to be for us, right? And then when we say you're never too old for sex, so that's one part of it. The other part of it is that we see a significant rise of, sexual activity among senior citizens.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
That's because they're so bored.
They're so bored, and it says, we see that lots of swinging lifestyle are actually happening in retirement communities and old age homes, and including assisted living centers.
Uh-huh.
And so why older people are making the most of their senior years. Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. One of the areas that I actually experienced some data, I got myself, I received some data about this when I was writing an article about the physicians not talking about sex and sexuality with their patient, and one of the age group of patients were the older population. We saw an increased rate of sexual transmitted infections and sexual transmitted diseases among them. Mm-hmm. And we were wondering, why is that? Why, suddenly, usually these are, conditions among much younger people where they are not experienced about how to use, protective systems. But to have that among older population, it was very interesting. And then we realized, because older population, they don't have to worry about pregnancy, they felt free not to use any protective, mm-hmm. measures when they had sex, right? Right. And therefore, we saw a rise of, sexual transmitted infection and diseases among that population. So especially those that they live, in an assisted living, or they don't live with their children anymore, and they have partners, so they felt free to have sex however they want without having, right. any security about it. But we know that, again, studies have shown that when older people have sex more frequently, they actually live longer, they live happier, they live with less, physical problems like heart disease and diabetic and all of that, Alzheimer and everything. And we know that they are people who still have sex at their 90s. So, and they look for orgasm, and they are able to have orgasm, and that's the beauty of it, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. So we know that orgasm makes you feel good about yourself and about life. That's what the article is making a reference to.
Yes, yes.
So it doesn't matter really how old a person is. It really doesn't matter what type of sex people are having. It doesn't matter, the age and where you live and all of that. If people focus on enjoyment, if people focus on happiness, if people, focus on, okay, I'm 90 years old, but I want to have a partner. So what? So what? I mean, mm-hmm. that's the beauty of life, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Age really doesn't define how much happiness and how much pleasure, especially when it comes to sexuality, need to have, mm-hmm. right? Old age doesn't limit our sexual, activities or our sexual pleasure or the experience of that. Only what we believe about old age that limits, individuals in about, pursuing happiness that way in their life.
Mm-hmm. So I have a question.
I hope I can answer it for you.
So if a 90-year-old man wants to be with a 25-year-old woman, is that going to make him live longer, or is that going to make him live shorter?
Uh, that I don't have any comment on that.
Because if she wants to have sex all the time, that could kill him. But
I,
but it's a nice way of going.
well, I guess if a 90-year-old is able to convince a 25-year-old to have sex with him, then he must have the stomach to go for it. And I don't know. I mean, a 25-year-old who also wants to have sex with a 90-year-old, I guess, she or he is going to have enough patience to catch up or to, make things go
Well,
well for both of them.
instead of having daddy issues, she has great grandfather issues.
Great grandfather issues, yes, but uh, I know that people at the old age, they do have sex, and they actually, most older people report having the greatest sexual experiences
Mm.
in their older age rather than in their younger age.
I can't help it. I got to say this. I think that's because their memory is going.
Okay, we are live on the air, and you are negating me today.
No. Just think, it's like they forgot what it was like when they were 25.
Well, I guess you're from the older age
I'm
yourself.
definitely from the older age. Not 90 yet, but getting there.
No, you just turned 73.
2.
72?
Yeah, 72.
Well,
Yeah,
happy
72.
birthday.
Don't make me older than I am, please.
Well, after 70 doesn't matter.
That's true. That's true.
Okay, so let's see. The fourth one is, you're never too unattractive to be sexy. And boy, this topic, this part, it's so interesting, and in particular, this part targets, our female, group of, people.
Right. Yeah, an older woman is not going to have the body of a younger woman.
But this one is not just talking about the older, the older population. It's just talking about women who believe they are not attractive enough to have sex.
Right.
And then to a degree, we can see how that happens, right? Female beauty has become a business these days.
Well,
right?
I don't know if it's these days.
It has been, right?
I think it's been throughout the ages.
Right.
That a woman's beauty is equated with her power.
Right.
And so when women have a low belief about how attractive they are,
right,
they feel less empowered, and I would venture to say less in general, not always, but in general, less sexual, because they have this belief that the man isn't going to be that attracted to them.
But isn't that some truth in that?
I'm not saying there's no truth in it. I'm just saying that's been forever.
Yes.
That it's not like something that just happened in the 21st century.
And this is so sad. That's a sad reality. How much a female needs to go through pain and suffering of having a waistline that is like a couple of inches, smaller, or a flatter stomach that shows her ribs sticking out, or skinny thighs, or I don't know, whatever that's a standard of the beauty, right? Or having breast augmentation, having hips augmentation, or any other augmentations, and just to look attractive for a man to be attracted to.
But again, I want to say that's an important part of it. The other part, I think, is for the woman to feel like she has worth, because women's beauty has been equated with that.
Exactly. So then again, these are all social impositions.
Correct.
The pressures that they are put on women.
Correct.
And for them to believe that they have to look, they have to be in a standardized shape, and something that for a man to be sexually or any other way attracted to them. I mean, having a nice body, of course, that's who doesn't want that, right? But that's the ice on the cake. is not the whole cake,
Well,
right?
I think it's also can be equated to men feeling powerful when they earn a lot of money.
Right.
I think that's a lot of pressure on the man, that he feels as though his worth is determined by the amount in his bank account.
Then I would say, let's give appointment for men who have low self-esteem.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Right. So the point is, according to the article, looks fade. Core values don't, and values don't have an age.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Right.
So it's not, a female's breast size or, tiniest of their waistline, or how long the hair is, or how gorgeous, the eyes are, or anything like that. It's really, I mean, that's important. I'm not declining the beauty, but then again, just because, not all of us have that, right? Only a small fraction of female can have it the way, that it's advertised about. And then the others go through so much pain and suffering to look like an image, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Or what we see on the cover of magazines, they're not real. They are so many times airbrushed and sized and changed, and sometimes the parts are borrowed from other places, and then they give us an image, an ideal image that we all want to look like that, but that image doesn't exist. But then again, being healthy, I think, is beautiful by itself and beautiful enough. And what we bring to the table as human beings are the most attractive part of us.
Well, I think one thing about this is that what we don't recognize is that we are all energy, and we all vibrate energy, and our vibration is felt by other people. And this is not airy-fairy, this is actual science.
Right.
That other people feel the energy fields around us. Some people call them auras, but there's an energy field within and without us that other people pick up on. And that has a lot to do with how attractive we are to people. But of course, that can't be bottled or sold, so nobody is talking about it. But actually, the happier we are inside, the higher energy we vibrate, and the more attractive we become in the world.
Exactly.
Male and female.
Male and female, yes. And then, of course, the true love is the essence of that. And with that, we got a notice that our program, is about to end. The subject of sex is a never-ending subject. Like I said, the more we know about your stories, the more we can, help and provide you with exactly what you need to hear and what you want to learn from this program. So please contact us. Send us email privately. We are happy to receive your email and your comments about our show. And with that, Dr. Jaffe?
Yes. Thank you again for a wonderful program. And we look forward to everybody joining us next week. We will have something special for you, as we try to do every week. And until then, remember,
all you need is love.
All you need is love. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.